Amma ba'd. So inshallah, as Jummah Mubarak, Allah has allowed us to reach this blessed day. The person who dies on the day of Jummah, he has a fadl over the person who doesn't die on the day of Jummah. Just like the person who dies in Ramadan has a fadl on the person who doesn't die in Ramadan. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the best ending for all of us, inshallah ta'ala. We live in the time of the great deception. We say, Masihud Dajjal. They say, Christians, Antichrist. Muslims say, false Messiah. There's no such word in the hadith, Antichrist. I don't think it's in the Bible. Maybe in the future I can go through the Greek and the Hebrew and we'll find out what the true meaning of that word is, because it's not Antichrist. Masihu, Messiah, the one who performed the miracles. Dajjal, the false one. We live in the time of the great deception. Our women in multitudes, the Christian women, the Jewish women, the Muslim women, and all the women are being driven out of the homes and into the marketplace. It's never happened. The woman has no place in society anymore. They tell her if she becomes a man, what does the woman want? Or what is her aspirations in a man? He has to have a career. He has to have standing in society. He has to have a income, $100,000 a year. So the women are been told, since they're little girls in school, then they go to college, that if you gain $100,000 worth of debt or $80,000 of debt and you can get a career where you make $100,000 a year and you get your degree in a PhD or your master's degree, you become a nurse or whatnot, and you get all the things that you desire in a man, then you'll be happy and you'll be able to find that better man, the higher value man. Ask the women who are 32 years old now and either they have kids or don't have kids, but they're looking for marriage. They're not there. Man is most people say man is actually the romantic gender. Women marry up. When the woman looks for a spouse, she looks for someone better than him. That's why they say men and women are equal. This is what I had to tell the kids in the Quran class. Laysa dhakar kal untha. Allah says in the Quran, Laysa dhakar kal untha. The man is not like the woman. This is kufr. When you say the man and woman are equal, this is kufr, and this is what they're being taught since they're young. They get older. A woman can do everything a man can do. Well, not in history, and not even now. The women today on the news are saying, on The View, they said, do we need men? And 4 of the 5 women on The View said, no, they're useless. They have no purpose in society. That woman, she doesn't know that she's broadcasting on cable wires that go under the ocean. Which woman laid those cable wires under the ocean? She's standing in a steel frame building. Which woman climbed up that building and welded those steel frames together? She's driving a car of petroleum. Which woman dug out the earth with this giant drills and drilled out the hot boiling oil? No, those are all men's jobs. Men are useless. Then the one woman, she stands up and she says, what? So my husband, he does a lot of stuff. He helps me when something's broken in the house. If I hear a bump in the night, he gets up and checks it out. He takes care of me. He has all types of benefits. He says, oh, that's a servant. Man is servant then. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. If we go in the Bible, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Hawa for Adam, he says a helper mate, a spouse and a helper. Women's purpose and man's purpose is to be married. Shaitan is the great deceiver. Dajjal's deception is greater than the deception of Shaitan. Shaitan's deception is a batini deception. It's from the inside. Whisper, waswas. Dajjal's deception is a dhahari deception. It is a manifest deception everywhere. Our families are under attack. We're under attack. Our women are under attack. This is the time of great sorcery. We should spend some time and study the magic that's happening. They have these concerts, which is a perversion of the salah, perversion of the salah. You have the imam on the stage, and all the people follow the imam, and they're saying all types of horrible things. Take your clothes off, rob your neighbor. The things I can't repeat, I'm just going to repeat them in biblical terms. Rob your neighbor, sleep with your neighbor's wife. And they're chanting them over and over again, jumping up and up and down. They had this one thing, Taylor Swift, they had this thing on the news. It say what? These people have something called this mass phenomenon where large groups of people who go to her concert have amnesia. They forgot the whole thing. They're doing witchcraft. Most of this music today is witchcraft. If you look at the history of music, they all pay tribute to Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley is the prophet of Satanism. He lived about 1920 or early 1900s. But you go through all the history. The Beatles put him on the album cover. That was the greatest band for one time. Led Zeppelin was the biggest selling band, rock band in all the 80s and up, all the 70s up into the 80s. They bought, Jimmy Page bought his mansion. Ozzy Osbourne wrote a song called Mr. Crowley. And today, they put the secret message in the music. And our kids, you see a Muslim kid, hijab, mashallah, yay high. Ask her which Cardi B song she don't know. And Cardi B is now the soft version. They have worse versions now. Our kids are under attack. Our women are under attack. This is the time of the great deception. This is a time when the Dajjal comes out with his great sorcery and perverts right from wrong and wrong to right. Right from wrong and wrong to right. We live under censorship. There's certain things I can't even say. I said something on TikTok that wasn't even offensive. I just talked about the wrong type of person. And they removed my thing and said, if I say something like that again, they're going to block me. And that person came onto my TikTok and commented. I wasn't talking about what they were talking about. And all I said is what the Quran says. So I'm not allowed to even say what the Quran says. The Christian's not allowed to say what the Bible says. The Jew's not even allowed to say what the Torah says. And the Hindu can't even say what the Veda says about this specific topic. You can't speak about it. We can't speak about one of the greatest genocides of our time. It's censorship. They say if you want to know who is in control of a country, look at who you can't speak against. Allahu Akbar. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa salatuhu wa salam rasulil kareem. Ashhadu an la ilaha wahdahu la sharika lah. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan rasuluhu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. So inshallah, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Laysa minna man da'a ila asabiyya." He's not from us the person who calls to asabiyya. Asabiyya have many meanings. One is tribalism. One is nationalism. One is sectarianism. They all these isms. وَلَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ قَاتَلَ عَلَى asabiyya. And he's not from us, meaning from the Prophet and from his Sahabas and from his family, the one who fights for asabiyya, for tribalism and nationalism and sectarianism. وَلَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ مَاتَ عَلَى asabiyya. And he's not from us, the one who dies on tribalism, nationalism, and sectarianism. Remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. Allah loves unity. We've been talking about this for quite some time now. We say, Ahl Sunnah wa Jama'ah. Ahl Sunnah means the people who stick to the traditions of Prophet ﷺ, namely the four Sunni schools that every Sunni Imam follows. Abu Hanifa, the Hanafis, Imam Malik, the Malikis, Imam Shafi, the Shafis, Ahmad Hanbal, the Hanbalis. All the Imams after them followed one of those four Imams. Allahu Akbar. But we say, oh, we don't need to follow those Imams. One of the sayings we have today is, they were men and we are men. But the Prophet ﷺ said, ad-deen nasiha, the deen is sincerity. They said, for who, O Prophet Allah? For Allah, for His book, for His prophets, for the Imams of the Muslims, and for the general Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ is defining deen. Remember, when we die, we're going to be asked, what? Man rabbukum, who is your Lord? Ma dinukum, what is your deen? Wa man nabiyakum, and who is your prophet? Allahu Akbar. We're going to be asked, what is our deen? And the Prophet ﷺ saying deen is sincerity. To the Imams, is religion. Imam is not a joke. The kuffar know they have Imam. They call it a mentor. If you want to be, the kids know they have Imam. If you want to be a basketball player, you better start learning about Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal and whoever else is a basketball player. I don't know basketball very well. But you're going to find an Imam in that knowledge. If you want to be a fighter, you better start learning about the great fighters. Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris, these are old school fighters. If you want to be a bodybuilder, you're going to find an Imam in that subject. But deen, we say, oh, I need no Imam. I don't need someone who's an expert, who's memorized 200, 300,000 hadith, and who knows the difference of the 4 schools in fiqh to explain to me how to pray and how to fast. I can go to the hadith, I go to the Quran, I can make up my own prayer, my own fast. Akhi, that's not promise that you're going to be successful. It's not promise your prayer is successful. It's not promise your fast is successful. It's not promise your wudu is successful. And if those things aren't correct, if your wudu and your salah isn't correct, you're making mistakes there, you're not getting the barakah that you need for Allah to give you the guidance to do better. And you're going to think you're doing right, and the whole time you think you're doing it right, you're actually getting curses. Remember, 2 people pray. One person, Allah is writing reward. One person, Allah is writing punishment. The mu'min and munafiq pray right next to each other. Munafiq is a Muslim. Munafiq goes to the deepest level of hellfire because he, on the outward side, pretends to be a Muslim. On the inward side, he hates Islam, he hates the Muslims, and he secretly wants to destroy them. Maybe in the hopes that if Islam disappeared, he wouldn't have to be Muslim anymore. He sees his worship as a chore, not as a gift. They ask me, can a Christian and Jew go to paradise? I say, not likely. They don't have the tools. I asked my own father, I said this before. Dad, let's agree. No matter which way you face, you're facing the direction of God. Let's agree on that. You're not going to prostrate one time to your God. I don't care what name you call him. Not one time you're going to prostrate, put your face on the ground to your God before you die, because when you die, you can't do it anymore. He never did it. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Islam is a beautiful thing. Islam, a Muslim, a true Muslim, he loved the Muslim more than he loved his own kuffar family. Anyone who has kuffar family, they'll know this reality. My father raised me. Allahu Akbar. But there's Muslims I love more than my own father, who are more of a father than my father was. We're living in this great deception. The time of the Mahsi Dajjal, the false Messiah. There's going to be, Allah says, ظَهَرَ فَسَادْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ. You're going to see fasad, the corruption, فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ, in the land and the sea, بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ, by what the hands of man have earned. We're seeing it even in the sea. The garbage, the islands made of plastic, the giant oil spills, the destruction of the marine microbiome, the destruction of the algae, and all this crazy stuff happening in the sea. We see it in the land. Akhi, there is ancient buildings here in this country they erased in the 1800s. Check your history. They erased the ancient architecture of this country. We have it down the street. We're erased. They're still doing it today. The city of Dayton right now is doing it today. It's a crime. They allowed the homeless people to go down the street and burn down a mansion. That was a small castle they burnt down. There's homeless people, and the city put so much oppression on the people, so much high tax, so many regulations and fines and fees that they can't even afford to go into the homes and open up and live. And they'd rather pay that money to their friend who has the destruction company, not the construction, the destruction company, 40 grand, whatever it is it costs to tear it down, instead of giving a 40 grand grant to a young family to go there, fix it up, and pay the taxes on it. Even for a business perspective, it doesn't make any sense. This is the great deception. Right is wrong, and wrong is right. The homosexual has more rights than the Muslim. He is considered a higher value man than a believing man who takes care of his family. The attack is on the family. Shaitan, he wants to destroy us. How does he destroy us? He goes to our woman, just like in the story of Adam and Eve. Adam and Hawa. He goes to the woman, he gets the woman to go astray, and that way he wins all the kids. And he wins the man. If you ever want to destroy a man, go to his woman. If his woman is giving us problems, that man is destroyed. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And why is this happening? Because the Muslims have turned to asabiyya. We've turned back to nationalism, tribalism, sectarianism, and racism. That's the other ism that asabiyya means. His skin is lighter than mine. His skin is darker than mine. That's racism. I'm better than him because my skin's lighter. I'm better than him because I was born in a land called America. That's a better place to be born than a land called Pakistan. Allahu Akbar. Or I'm better than him because I'm from a tribe, and he's from a different tribe. My mother is better than his mother. My father is better than his father. Asabiya. We even have it in our sectarianism, that every group wants to fight each other group, and all we want to do is argue each other, while the kuffar laugh and joke at us, and they say, how can you guys be a unified religion when you guys are fighting each other in every country you exist in? All this comes from the rebellion against our Khalifa. Khalifa was a divine order. The Arabs were tricked by mostly the British in the Khalij, in Saudi Arabia, and Dubai, and in Iraq, and in Syria, and in Egypt, to fight against the Khalifa who was Turkish. Once they overthrew him in World War I, it opened the door for the kuffar to come into all the Muslim lands. They asked me about Gaza right now. You got to go back. The Arabs rebelled against their Khalifa. This is what happens when you give up the divine decree. One divine decree, you say, oh, you know, we don't need Khalifa, we can have democracy, or we don't need a ummah, we can have nations. Changing one divine decree opens the door to all the fitna. وَكُلِّ كَذَا هَذَا